Alright, this is a demo about the hand. I'm using Burne Hogarth, his How to Draw a Dynamic Hand, or whatever book he has, as a reference. And I like the way he draws hands. I do have some problems with it. I think they're incredibly complex, so they're not easy to learn from. They might be interesting to aspire to. So I'm using this particular image from his book that you see here to start out. We're going to sculpt the finger first, I think, is the way we're going to try this. And these demos get more difficult for me to do because the better you get at something, the more difficult it becomes. At first I was just winging it. I had no expectations. Now I have an expectation of what these things should be like. So then it becomes more difficult. Control C, V, scale it down. Whoops. Yeah, they get more difficult to do. But this is one I've been wanting to do for a while. So I think being able to sculpt a hand in the right way is helpful with the digital sculpting. And so what I'm thinking is that this will be a posable hand. You'll be able to pose it and reuse it. Control C, V, Control A. Let's move that whole thing down a little bit. Control D. Scale that down. Alright, so what do we have? Alright, so we have at the bottom here, that would be the knuckle. You'd have the first joint, the second joint. So we've got essentially all that laid out. Now we want to try to create the rest of the form of the finger, if we can figure out how to do that. He has different drawings for the finger. He does have some kind of mechanical idea of what the finger should look like, but like I say, very complex, very difficult to translate from one drawing to the next. So if you're trying to learn how to draw a hand, I'd say it'd be easier just to learn from life, actually, rather than use his. But I think if you're advanced, you've been studying that, you could get a system, you get an idea of a system of way of thinking about things that brings a certain kind of clarity to something that's very complex. So let's see. Underneath, he has at the base of every area where this would be, let's see. Okay, this would be the underneath part here. So where he's got the joints, where these are, on the extender side, the top side of your hand, it still resembles kind of a sphere, but on the other side he's kind of divided up into like two smaller kind of spheres at the base. So let's try that. Let's see, that looks rather suggestive. Change that a little bit. Yeah. So I apologize. It's gonna look the way it looks here. I think maybe if we elongate it, because he's got it so that it's not quite, it does kind of go into the finger a little bit. Yeah, we can't make the nuances. Here, let me try this even more. That the drawing has, we have to work with what we have, which we're trying to keep it simple. So it does look funny. I apologize for that. Let's see. So that's not too bad. Let's try it. So I wonder if that's pretty decent representation. Let's take a look a little more. I wonder if this should move out. Okay, so let's try that again. Let's copy that, Control C, V. I don't think I like that. Delete. Control C, V. Let's try that. All right. Oh, I have two of them, huh? All right. Whoops. All right. Control D, deselect, all right. Grab. Should be maybe a little bit bigger, I think. All right, and then what does he have at the bottom? It's more evident that it splits up here on the end of the finger in the middle. It doesn't look like he's doing it here. We might be able to, let's see. What can we do on the back? Okay. Maybe this could be a little bit longer. Let's see. Probably bring that in. I don't know, I brought it out before. All right, so all right. So some of this goes on to explain what's going on here, but doesn't give you the full answer. So I'm wondering, let's see, maybe I see what he's got. So if I look at this drawing, it looks like this information is something, a form that is to the side, off to the side of the finger. So you can follow that. You could see on one of his drawings he does this, and you could get an understanding of it. But then you go to another drawing, and it doesn't really correlate, or it's not necessarily. See, what does he have here? So let's just take it easy. Let's look at some other drawings too. What we have here. So here the sphere becomes not just a sphere, it's divided that form But I like the way he's got that finger set up. Let's see. Maybe that part could be a little larger. Seems like that could tilt a little bit differently than it does. Let's see. Yeah, maybe he's got the bone kind of comes through at the top. So it's almost like we could take this. Let's see what we can do with it. I'm trying not to make it too complex, but at the same time, it's not a bad thing to analyze what he's done and try to interpret it. What do I have here? Yeah, I'm not sure that's a hugely important thing to do. Let's see. Control C, V. Oh, it's giving me 2. I don't know why it's doing that. All right. Scale that up a little bit. We need to change that dimension maybe. Change that. Change it. So it's pretty simple. Maybe we can maybe bring this out a little bit. Grab. Maybe that can end up being a little bit bigger than it is. So that's a finger. Is that good? Do we need to do actually anything here? Let's look at some of his other drawings. Let's compare it to that drawing. What do we have? That's not horrible. We could do a little more here with the fingernail. I like, and it just makes it more complicated, but I like it. I like the way, I've always liked the way he's thought about that. So he's got 2 on the each side of each side of the fingernail. He's got a little cylindrical form, and he's got this. So let's try it. Let's see what we can get. Control C, V, this, scale it down. Wait. Scale it down. Bring it over. Wonder if I should. Yeah, I'm not really sure that I'm getting that across. Well, one thing that'll help. You can see in this drawing, he's got that part right here, the bony part. It seems he's got it on this form too, so maybe that'll help us a little bit. Control C, V, scale it down. Probably scale it up a little bit. Do that. What happens if we put a sphere at the end here? Control C, V, scale it. When you do these things, it's more about learning and memorizing the form. So this may or may not be a helpful thing to do practically in terms of the way you make your hand and use it in your art, but it's a good exercise for you to kind of learn and commit to memory the form of the hand, for example. So I think it's a better way to do it than rather than to copy his drawings. I don't think that would be a very effective way to learn the hand. In fact, my anatomy teachers didn't recommend we buy his books. They didn't exactly explain why. I think the most I got was that they were a little complicated, I think, is what I ended up understanding from them. So, okay, we have, that could be a little bit bigger, right? Scale it up a little bit. Should we put a fingernail in there? Sometimes that stuff works, sometimes it doesn't. Let's try it. Press enter to lock it so you can get it. Grab. It's a little flatter. Fingernails are a little flatter than what. All right, let's rotate that out a little bit. Oops. Control A so I can bring that down. I think that should be a little. Yeah, something like that. Let's make it bigger. That's a pretty small fingernail. Let's see. Sorry. Yeah, I was trying to avoid this roundedness, but maybe it's one of those things you just have to come back to. you figure it out a little bit later or something like that. It's a pretty small fingernail. Maybe that's not too bad. All right, so I think that's about all I would want to do with the finger. I don't want it to be too complex. That seems manageable. So now let's